The D into the O and the O into the C and the C into the period. Suckers are fearing this. Suckers are fearing this.
Yo, what up, son? Dallas here, back with another video. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. All that good shit, you know. Today I kind of wanted to talk about a couple of things. Now, you know, obviously we've had all kinds of Call of Duty news floating around, from confirmed information to fake leaks and all kinds of shit. And while I don't really want to focus on that directly, it has made me start to think a little bit differently about Activision. And so that's kind of really what I wanted to talk about. So let's get into some of this shit right quick. Now, the first thing that is bothering me is that there's a 3-year development cycle. And that means it takes one of these development companies 3 years to make the game, and yet we're only playing them for a year, which in the past hasn't been that big of a deal. But the games are getting progressively worse and worse. And so I'm not really understanding the logic behind a 3-year development cycle. And now really with Black Ops 3, it's becoming a 6-month lifespan of the game. I mean, last year, if you think back to last year when Black Ops 3 news was breaking and the beta was coming out, they pretty much infringed on Advanced Warfare's life cycle by a couple of months. With the Black Ops 3 beta and all the hype that was developing, it came in around 2 or 3 months before the end of Advanced Warfare's life cycle. Now, I don't know about you, but as soon as I played the beta for Black Ops 3, I never touched Advanced Warfare again. There was no reason for me to play A-Dub after that, and I just played other shit and I waited for Black Ops 3 to come out, you know? And so now they're kind of doing the same thing. You fast forward to this year, and with all of the Infinite Warfare and COD Remastered news breaking, I mean, we're barely halfway through the life cycle of Black Ops 3, and they're already plugging and hitting us for fucking Infinite Warfare information. And I don't know, I find this offensive, man, because, you know, it really illustrates the fact that Activision in general is mostly about a money grab. You know, they're hyping up the Infinite Warfare and the COD Remastered for 3 main reasons. Number 1, they care about pre-orders. Number 2, they care about supply drops, obviously. And number 3, they care about DLC. They want you to get that season pass. So they're hyping this shit up so hard. They're working 6 months ahead of the curve before the game even drops. And I'm just getting annoyed with this whole philosophy. I don't understand how it can take 3 years to develop a game and now we're only playing the game for 6 months. People must not be playing this game, Black Ops 3, like they anticipated. Because if the game was successful, they would be constantly hyping the updates involved with Black Ops 3. They wouldn't necessarily feel the need to jump the gun and start plugging Infinite Warfare 6 months before the game even comes out. And I'm not knocking the game directly, but, you know, I don't love it. And I know a lot of people that I party up with, and a lot of people that are in my crew, I mean, they don't fucking love it either, you know. And you can see all the YouTubers out there, they're making videos, but they're talking about Infinite Warfare. They're not talking about Black Ops 3, you know. So I just don't think that Activision is giving us their full and their best effort. You know, they're more concerned with making money than they are with putting out a decent product. And so I'm kind of offended by this. I've got a suggestion. I've got something that I've been thinking about that would maybe remedy this issue and present us, the consumer, with a better product. Now, this is pure hypothetical, and in reality, there's no way this is going to happen. Activision, you know, we've talked about it. They're worried about the 3 main things. They want those pre-order sales, they want DLC, you know, season pass sales, and they need those supply drop sales. You know, that's the only thing they give a fuck about. Nothing else matters. And I mean, with the exception of the esports initiative, which is a whole different animal, you know. But that's really all they care about. They don't care about putting out a good product. You know, they don't care about legacy players like myself that have been playing since day one, or some of you guys out there that have been playing since day one. They don't care about us. You know, they care about their pockets. But I do have a suggestion, and this is what I would suggest. This is where my mind is at. The first problem with Call of Duty is that the development cycle is too long. 3 years is too long to have to play the same shit over and over again. You know, it became evident after Advanced Warfare. People want to knock Sledgehammer, but they gave us what we asked for. We asked for change as a community, and they provided it. We just didn't like what they gave us, you know, which is a different animal. But you can live with that for 1 game, but now we're stuck with it for 3 games because there's a 3-year life cycle, and each one of these development teams are already ahead of the curve and already working on the next game, and it's just too late to change, you know. And so we're stuck with the same bullshit for 3 games instead of just 1 game. You know, so I'm not really digging that, and I think the 3-year development cycle is a problem. Now, you know, making a game of this magnitude is complicated, and they're going to need time, and they're going to need resources, and so obviously, you know, it's hard to shrink that down a whole hell of a lot. But my plan would be, or my idea would be, to shrink the development cycle down to 2 years. And you're probably going to ask yourself, how the fuck are we going to do that? They can't even put out a decent game in 3-year development cycle, let alone in 2 years. So how's this going to work? Well, I'm going to try to explain it to you in the best way that I can. And this is just, like I said, just my own thoughts and my own perspective on it. And this is kind of me talking off the top of my head. So the first thing that we would need to do is, instead of having one development team make one game, I would rather have Sledgehammer, Infinity Ward, and Treyarch all work together on one game. So that would allow us to shrink the development cycle down a little bit, because now you've got 3 separate teams working together on one project. Now, obviously, logistically, it would be complicated, but the way I would break it down is this. There's 4 major components of any Call of Duty game. There's the campaign, there's the multiplayer, there's the esports initiative, and there's zombies or some kind of, add-on game. So obviously, it's unrealistic to have one team responsible for 4 major entities or 4 major game components. In reality, Infinity Ward has a reputation for providing the best campaigns in Call of Duty. So I would have Infinity Ward focus all of their resources, or at least 90% of their resources would be focused on creating the dopest campaign that they could create. You know, I'm thinking something like Uncharted, or something like The Last of Us, you know, a dope-ass campaign that would satisfy a big group of the community that would be ecstatic to play that type of game. Second in line, I would have Sledgehammer on zombies. Now, if you think about it like this, in the zombie environment, you could have people in space, you could have people in any environment you could imagine. If you want to boost jump from here to the moon, that's perfectly fine, because in zombies aren't real. Unless some motherfuckers on bath salts or some shit, you know, they're not real. So you can get away with literally anything. So their creativity, the boost jumping, the movement that you want to test out, you know, you could go ahead and do that in a zombies environment, and people would be perfectly fine with that, I feel. You know, the issue is, in the multiplayer side, we want to have boots on the ground for the most part. And so I would have Treyarch handle the multiplayer and the esports side of it, because the multiplayer is kind of tied with the esports initiative. And the reality is, I would have all of the entities, Sledgehammer and Infinity Ward would also have input on the esports side. But if you broke it down like that, so we'd have the A team in Treyarch handling multiplayer, which for most of us is the most important aspect of the game, and they could give us a different movement system. It could be a tapered down movement system for what Sledgehammer does in zombies, so they could still collaborate a little bit. But let's say, for example, in zombies, you can boost from here to the moon, but in multiplayer, the functionality is still the same, but the boost isn't from here to the moon. It's just it's a tapered down version of the boost. So if you want to have thrust jumping, which we've all kind of gotten accustomed to a little bit, I would have it even lesser of a boost than there is in Black Ops 3. So if we could take Black Ops 3 movement system and take it down a notch, I'm not a fan of the wall running and all that other shit, but what I'm saying is that the multiplayer could be a dumbed down version, or a little bit catered more towards the boots on the ground side of things, and you would still pacify the boots on the ground people. You would still have zombies, which in reality, you could have clan wars in zombies, you could have creativity out the ass, you could even go esports shit in zombies. I mean, it's a whole nother channel of revenue that they could possibly provide. There could even be special DLC that's specific for zombies, meaning instead of getting 1 zombies map, maybe your DLC gets you 5 zombie maps or 4 zombie maps or whatever. There's all kinds of shit you could do, and even down the line, you could spin zombies off into its own separate game, you know. So the way it works right now, we get one game every year. The way my plan would be was that we'd get one major game every 2 years, right? But in between, we would have a remastered version. So there's, you know, I don't know how many Call of Duty games there are. There's 8, 9, 10 of them or something. They could remaster a new one every year in between the major launch of the new title. And as we develop the zombie element of it, you could even spin off and have zombie games in between. So you could have basically 1 year you'd have the major launch title, and then the following year you'd have a remastered version or maybe a zombies version of the game, and then the year after that you'd have the next major title from Call of Duty. So we would spread it out a little bit more. I think it would, utilize all the resources a little bit better, and as consumers, we'd be getting a lot better product. I mean, I would pay a little bit more for that, and I'd wait a little bit longer for it, you know, truth be told, you know. And I feel like we wouldn't have to be stuck with an inferior product that's rushed to development, and that they spend 3 years building something that's just so-so, and then they fix it all on the fly as the game's in its life cycle. But Activision is trumping that by getting that hype train rolling for the next Call of Duty game, so you don't even get to enjoy the changes, and you really are playing half-assed. We're playing catch-up the whole time, you know, and I'm not really a fan of that. So I think this could work. Obviously, as I said, you know, Activision, I don't believe they would ever do anything like this. There's just too much money involved. I mean, why put out a hell of a product once every 2 years when they could easily put out shitty product every single year and still make millions of dollars and still get lots of fans to purchase it? You know, the reality is nothing's going to change until we as a community step together and stand up together and put our foot down and say, look, we've had enough of this shit. You know, we've kind of had a small fraction of that with the trailer for Infinite Warfare. You know, that thing's gone viral in the negative side of things, you know, and a lot of that's trolling people, and those are haters, and a lot of bullshit going on. But, you know, that is one way to get your voice heard, is to come together as a community and one unified front and say, look, we don't want this type of shit anymore. We want a better product. If you don't provide us with a better product, we're going to start playing Battlefield. And Battlefield 1 is coming out around the same time, and I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna be getting that shit. That shit look dope as fuck. World War I, kind of an alternate reality to World War I. So they still got creativity. They're not sticking to the old same old World War I bullshit, but they are being creative. They're getting the boots on the ground type of thing, and Battlefield's got my attention, and I'm sure it's got the attention of a lot of people in the gaming community. So, you know, Activision needs to get their shit together, or they're gonna eventually they're gonna start losing money, and then that's when they're gonna try to make changes. But it might be too late. You know, it might be too late for them at that point. Battlefield's taking the first major step in giving the community, the FPS community, what we want, which is boots on the ground. And if that game is viable, if that game is good, there may be people that will never go back to Call of Duty, you know. And so I'm interested in seeing how this all works out. You know, I wish I was somebody that had the authority to make change, but I don't, you know. But I'm gonna voice my opinion. I know some of you guys out there are gonna agree, and some of y'all are gonna disagree, and that's okay. You know, that's what we're about. That's what the community should be about, is talking about different points and trying to come up with an idea that we all kind of can get behind and support, you know. So at any rate, man, I appreciate your time. Thanks for tuning in. You know, if you got something important you want to say, if you got disagree with what I'm saying, it's all good, bro. Just hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter if you want. You know, in the end, I just want to voice my opinion, and I want to develop a community where we're like-minded individuals, where we hang out, we chop it up, you know, we enjoy a couple gameplays, we talk some shit, you know, and we have a good time. So at any rate, man, thanks for your time. That's all I got for today. I'll holler at y'all on the next one. I'm out.